Why?
Daddy is coughing, Gina is coughing, so I just ran for cover.
Uniplex cough syrup contains ammonium chloride, diphenhydramine hydrochloride, sodium citrate, and menthol crystals to give you relief from sore throat, cold, and just a cough.
Daddy, are we safe now?
Yeah.
Uniplex cough syrup. Cage the cough, free your voice.
From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Millicent Walker.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, drama at courthouse as Labour Party factional leaders face off over who represents the party at the presidential election petition court. Judge adjourns case to May the 19th. National Working Committee of the PDP resolves to review cases of anti-party activities and indiscipline against some of its members in the 2023 elections. With the clock ticking on his administration's lifespan amid rising inflation, surging debt stock, we review the president's management of the economy in the last 8 years.
On business news tonight, International Monetary Fund, the IMF, approves long-awaited $3 billion bailout to support Ghana's economic recovery.
On sports news tonight, Brentford's Ivan Toney handed 8-month ban by English FA for betting offences as Man City thrashed Real Madrid 5-1 on aggregate to reach the UEFA League Champions finals.
From Abuja, the nation's capital, President Muhammadu Buhari writes House of Representatives requesting approval to borrow $800 million from the World Bank.
International news from London. The former French President Nicolas Sarkozy has lost his appeal against a prison sentence for corruption.
We begin with the drama that played out in the courtroom earlier today involving the Lamidi Apapa and Julius Abure camps of the Labour Party who clashed at the pre-hearing session of the presidential election petition court. Mr. Apapa was confronted by youths who were in court to witness the day's proceedings in the petition filed by Mr. Peter Obi challenging the outcome of the presidential election held on February the 25th, 2023. Mr. Apapa had to be taken into protective custody by security operatives attached to the court. Our correspondent, Emanuela Ekele, has more.
It's been 1 week since the last sitting of the presidential election petition court. At the resumption on May 17, the Labour Party members could not agree on who should represent the party in the courtroom. And while that was going on, the rest of the courtroom was filing out to wait for the commencement of the day's proceedings. The 5-man panel of justices arrived and promptly refused to record appearances for the acting national chairman, Lamidi Apapa, as well as the national women's leader of the party, Dudu Manugu, when the petition was called today. Justice Haruna Samani noted that if two persons are making an appearance for the party, they will not be put on record. When it was time to make their submissions, all the parties involved in the suit told the court that a scheduled meeting meant to streamline their documents for expeditious hearing before the court ended in a deadlock. Counsel to the Labour Party and Peter Obi, Levi Uzuako, informed the court that INEC only availed them 30% of the documents required from them. He adds that the party is yet to get documents with respect to Rivers State, and the Resident Electoral Commissioner says there are no EC8A forms available to be given. Counsel to INEC, Abubakar Mahmood, however, claims that representatives of the Labour Party did not show up for the meeting as agreed and also walked out of the rescheduled meeting. Mr. Mahmood adds that the documents for Rivers and Sokoto states were provided, but the Labour Party refused to pay the sum of 1.5 million naira for Sokoto State, and the form EC8A for Rivers State was not given to them. Counsel to Tinubu, Wale Olanipekun, and the counsel to the APC, Lateef Fagbemi, assured the court that they're ready to cooperate with the court.
The amount is far from being legit. So I believe I've said it all. But what is important is that now that INEC has a lead counsel, I believe that something good may come out of a chat that I'm supposed to have with him today. Because until now, if you ask me, and I say it with every degree of emphasis, that INEC sees itself as a candidate in an election that is conducted. No other party is complaining about not getting any documents. You should ask the question, why is it so? Because they have been provided with documents, except the petitioners.
The main highlight of the day's pre-hearing was the fight for supremacy involving the Lamidi Apapa-led group and the Julius Abure camp. Lamidi Apapa had to be whisked away by security operatives when a group supposedly loyal to Abure camp confronted him, describing him as an impostor.
As the court adjourns to May 19, the altercation between the two camps in Labour Party continues. Emanuela Ekele, Channels Television News.
Well, following that incident, the Nigeria Labour Congress has disowned the Mr. Lamidi Apapa-led faction of the Labour Party, describing Mr. Apapa as an imposter and a meddlesome interloper who is being used by reactionary forces to deny Nigerians the benefit of an alternative political thought. A statement signed by the Secretary of the NLC's Political Commission, Mr. Chris Yot, also describes the drama between the factions at the Presidential Tribunal as shameful. The party goes on to say that the National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, and the Oyo State Council of the NLC, which Mr. Apapa Lamidi claims affiliation to, has completely disclaimed giving him any mandates to act on their behalf in the Labour Party in any capacity whatsoever. The statement further notes that the Labour movement will not allow a recurrence of what happened at the tribunal today to happen again in subsequent sittings. In the meantime, the man at the centre of it all, the drama, Mr. Lamidi Apapa, is accusing the Labour Party's presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, of being responsible for the crisis rocking the party. Mr. Apapa, who spoke to journalists after he was attacked in court today, says the leadership crisis would not have erupted if Mr. Obi had withdrawn his recognition from the suspended national chairman of the party, Mr. Julius Abure, based on the order of the Federal Capital Territory High Court.
Well, the first question of allegation of corruption, bribe taking, it is not true. And I've told them severally, if you have an evidence to prove, bring your evidence that I have collected money or we have collected money from anybody. That is not, it's absolutely untrue. That's that.
And the second one, obviously, Peter will be taking side with Aburi. Peter will be taking side. You see, I don't want to keep on exposing, but he deserves to be exposed. He deserves to be exposed. Some time ago, in one of the interviews he granted, he said he does not know me at all. I want to tell the whole world, he's a liar. And let me tell you why I say he's a liar. I've been trying to cover him, but he does not deserve it. The reasons are this. One, this is a man done his primary in Asaba. I did the opening prayer. And I was not a young officer. I was the deputy national chairman of the party then. So not a junior officer. This party, I've been 21 years in this party. When this party was formed, I started with the party, and I've held a lot of positions in the party to the level I have today.
And now to the People's Democratic Party, where the party's National Working Committee is set to constitute a committee that will review all cases of indiscipline and anti-party activities committed by members. A statement by the PDP National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Adebo Olugunagba, notes that the decision is in furtherance of ongoing efforts by the national leadership of the party to instill discipline as well as achieve a comprehensive reconciliation in the party. The statement further directs that no organ of the party at any level shall henceforth commence any disciplinary action against any member of the party without due consideration and regard to the provisions of the party's constitution. To security matters now, President Muhammadu Buhari has condoled with families of two officials of the United States Embassy, as well as the two Nigerian policemen killed by gunmen at Ogbaru local government area of Anambra State. In a statement by the president's spokesperson, Mr. Garba Shehu, President Buhari says he is saddened by the killings. According to him, I was very sad hearing about the killing of the embassy staff and our policemen accompanying them. In this difficult time for the families of those killed, the American Embassy and the Nigeria Police Force, I extend the nation's condolences over the very sad incident. He said the president is equally pained about the gruesome deaths of villagers in communities in Plateau and Benue states, adding that the security agencies are committed to bringing the perpetrators to justice. Anger and anxiety following the death toll in Tuesday's attack on communities in Mangu local government area of Plateau State, which is set to have risen to 85 as search for missing persons are still ongoing in the affected communities. The national president, Magwavo Development Association, told journalists after the security meeting at the palace of the traditional ruler in Mangu that several communities were attacked simultaneously by the gunmen. Protesting women had besieged the palace of the traditional ruler, where a security meeting was taking place, calling on government to address the security challenge in the local government.
What is happening in Mangu is not just a Mangu affair. It is a Plateau affair. And the government is concerned about it. That's why we are here to see for ourselves, to hear for ourselves and to also see what can be done. But let me assure you that government is very well aware of its responsibilities. That's why this delegation is here. We sympathize with you. We appreciate your problems. And we also appreciate the problems the security personnel are going through. They are doing their best, and government will continue to provide the necessary instruments for them to carry out their responsibilities.
In part two, after the break, we get more insights into President Muhammadu Buhari's economic policies and its impact. Joining us to assess the president's scorecard is an economist, Mr. Oji Udemezwe. We have that in a moment. Join us again.
Trending with the Glow Social Data Bundles. Dial *777# or buy via Glow Cafe.
Looking fresh for your date? Get even fresher with Close Up. New Close Up Triple Fresh formula. It cleans deeply, fights 99% of bacteria, and cools intensely, keeping you protected and fresh.
Let's take a picture.
Still fresh, still protected.
Feeling cool and protected.
All day confidence to get close.
Oh, yeah, take it close up,
New Close Up Triple Fresh formula.
The Duchess International Hospital opened its doors in October 2021. The mission of the hospital is to reverse medical tourism. We take particular care here at the Duchess to bring together a combination of the brightest and the best locally, as well as Nigerians in the diaspora who are interested in returning to do very good work for the benefit of our patients here in this country.
The good thing is that we have all international expertise here, all international facilities here, international people working here. Everything is coming together in a space which was considered not great in terms of the availability of healthcare.
Access Bank, of course, has been able to provide us with a robust range of products and services that has enabled us to deliver that standard and quality of healthcare that is integral to our mission as an organization.
Savlon Antiseptic Liquid kills over 99.9% of germs on your skin, leaving you free to live more. And it's formulated by Johnson & Johnson to keep you and your family protected. Savlon, love the feeling.
New beginnings are always colorful. When we celebrate the start of life's journey, we marry in colors. With our proudly Nigerian Dulux paints, now available in any color. Express your world however you want it. Visit a Dulux Color Center to get any color instantly.
Dulux, let's color.
This is the University of Africa. On the streets, you get your real education. Here, everybody has a degree of something. But the most important qualification is imagination. Her reason to imagine is slay. His reason is to be the GOAT. Theirs is to take a beat and make it lit. They want to test edgy until it is fire. Their reason for imagination is to add riz in style. Her reason to imagine is finesse. And hers is to find what's new and bussin'. So no matter what your situation, just use your imagination.
no dey show. I hear Luna Bella, Ekuisha. Anywhere you enter, I know what you. Your one no dey invisible. Ekuisha. Eba mi ki omo luwabi, nothing go for your hand.
Some identities cannot be mistaken, you know, like your business name and your account name. Your business name if you shoot place, then the account now, caller can remove. If I see him, I block him straight. You don't understand? Don't confuse your customers. Sign up for a Money Point business account today and get a business account in your business name in minutes from your shop banker. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Whatever it takes to make sure you have a business account opened in your business name, we'll do it as your sure banker. Open a bank account in your business name with Money Point.
Let's go, metal in 5 minutes.
You're always so active.
And the pure bliss? It's so delicious. And it's free.
Yes, buy one Fresh O and get one pack of delicious Pure Bliss biscuits free.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live from Channels Television. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Drama at courthouse as Labour Party faction leaders face off over who represents the party at the presidential election petition court. Judge adjourns case to May the 19th. National Working Committee of the PDP resolves to review cases of anti-party activities and indiscipline against some of its members in the 2023 elections. With the clock ticking on his administration's lifespan amid rising inflation, surging debt stock, we review President Buhari's management of the economy in the last 8 years. And a spokesperson for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Harry and Meghan, says the couple were involved in a near-catastrophic car chase by paparazzi in New York. As the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration draws to a close, the state of the economy with considerations to macroeconomic factors have been part of current conversations. In continuation of our assessment of various sectors under the Buhari administration tonight, our focus is on the economy. Our business correspondent, Ini John Mekwa, has more details.
I would like to thank the millions of supporters who believed in us.
President Muhammadu Buhari assumed office after winning Nigerians' vote on the promise of change in 2015. Safe to say that the change did not consider recession, but that is what the country was plunged into just as the administration was settling in. Global oil prices, which was at about $64 in June 2015, dipped to $36.68 a barrel by December 2015, lower than the benchmark for the year, which was $38 a barrel. The administration would have to deal with a second round of recession by the third quarter of 2020. With the spread of COVID-19, economic activities were halted. GDP, which was at about $486 billion, according to the National Bureau of Statistics in 2015, declined to $404 billion in 2016, and the country slipped into recession. The then Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, was constantly in the eye of the storm.
The economy is actually in very, very good hands, and we're doing absolutely our best to get through this difficult period. We have released 74 billion naira to work in 2 months.
In February 2021, the National Bureau of Statistics announced that the country had exited recession with a slight increase of 0.11% to the GDP.
I will rate the government high. And why would I say that? One is response to COVID-19. The second is response to the recession and the crisis of EndSARS protest.
While the economy survived recession, inflation was still embedded. From a single digit of 9.01% in 2015, inflation has increased to 22.22% as at April 2023. And this is in spite of Monetary Policy Committee rates hike.
There's been reduced supplies or reduced production, which has led to increase in prices. So when you look at the bottlenecks, infrastructural bottlenecks in terms of transportation, you also look at the insecurity in most of the farming areas. That has compounded the rise in food prices.
As inflation surges, the naira loses value. Access to foreign exchange becomes more of a struggle, especially for the real sector.
We've gone from 2015, where we started the year with 150 naira at the time. 2016, we entered the 360 naira to $1 period. And between 2016 and now, we're talking about 750 naira to the dollar.
We assess our foreign needs through the parallel market, which rose between 750, sometimes 780, sometimes 730. That in itself is killing.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has over time sought diverse ways to boost FX supply for businesses and individuals, one of which is the RT200 program, which the CBN governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, says brought export proceeds repatriation into the country up by 40% to $5.6 billion in 2022. The CBN also took other steps deemed necessary to stabilize supply and prices.
The Central Bank will henceforth discontinue the sale of foreign exchange to bureau exchange operators. B, the bank will no longer process or issue new licenses for BDC operations in the country.
Unfortunately, the supply and price of FX continue to elude solution as multiple windows continue to exist. The value of the naira against the dollar continues to deteriorate. The existence of multiple windows for the dollar, among other issues, have built conversations around harmonizing monetary and fiscal policies.
This administration will continue to ensure that our fiscal policies are supported by a robust and contemporary monetary policy that recognizes our peculiarities in the midst of the growing global economic difficulties.
In the face of this, borrowing increased as public debt, which was about 12.6 trillion naira in 2015, had surpassed 27 trillion naira in 2019 and is projected to hit 77 trillion naira by June 2023.
By the end of the year, my estimation is that the debt profile will get to around 80 trillion. That is massive, and that will be it's extremely difficult to manage.
We would begin to see a departure.
The debts may continue to increase, with fuel subsidy payment between 2015 and 2021 hitting 13 trillion naira, according to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Although the federal government had announced the end of payment by June 2023, based on the 2023 budget provision, the plan has been put on hold in spite of a planned loan of $800 million from the World Bank. Another policy which the Buhari administration will be remembered for is the Naira redesign. It seems more Nigerians will remember the frustration to access their funds, which in some cases turned violent. This may be what will give a final impression to the performance of the Buhari administration. As the Bola Tinubu's administration comes on board with a promise of renewed hope, it's not a clean slate, as there are important decisions to be made. Removal of subsidy, debt burden of about 77 trillion naira, debt service to revenue ratio surpassing 80%, and running inflation. Nigerians will be watching and hoping that the right decisions are taken to put the economy on the path of growth. Ini John Mekwa, Channels Television News.
Well, to get more insight into how the economy has fared in the last 8 years, we're now being joined by an economist and the chief executive of Flame Academy and Consulting Limited, Mr. Odi Udemezwe. Welcome to the news at 10.
Thank you very much, and it's my great pleasure to be on this platform at the moment. Thank you for inviting me.
Talk to us about your assessment of the outgoing administration's performance on the economy.
In summary, I would want to say that this administration started very poorly. And while we thought that the president, His Excellency Buhari, with all due respect, intended to leave a better name behind before leaving, that unfortunately has not happened. If you remember, early on in the administration, after the election that we thought would bring untold disaster to the country, and we had a president who handed over to the opposition party without any crisis, Nigeria gathered from international community a huge level of goodwill. And that whole goodwill was wasted with the administration of Buhari not appointing ministers 6 months after being sworn in. And the whole goodwill was totally eroded. And then thereafter, with the oil price going down, we slid into a very bad recession, which has kept us struggling between then and now. And if you want to look at what has happened in the past 7 years, which evidence is lying in the lives of every Nigerian, every family, every household, and several businesses, and of course not helped by the recent COVID pandemic and now ongoing Russia-Ukraine crisis, Nigerians have been left much, much worse off than Buhari and his team met it. That's being frank to ourselves. Even though a great effort is being made on image laundering to promote what is unpromotable in terms of the performance of this administration. If you give me a few minutes, I can go down to some little quick details about some parameters just to do some economic exercise. Otherwise, the facts live in the lives of every Nigerian that we are much worse off today than we were in 2015. In fact, all ramifications.
Yes, talking about the life of the Nigerian, do you think the economy was also responsible for sort of the mass exodus we've seen, young men, women, even the not so young, leaving the country for greener pastures?
Even those who are well employed, I have personal data, close friends that I will even wake up and say, hello guy, how you doing on WhatsApp? And the person says, oh, sorry, I didn't tell you. I'm no more in this country. I've relocated to Canada or to UK or to America. People are living in droves, both the employed, underemployed, semi-employed, and even very well-employed Nigerians. People are leaving for several reasons, and these reasons, cut across the three major, or the tripod upon which this administration came in. Nigeria today is more corrupt than, we were in 2015, and things are not working. You can't get a job. You can't get business permits. You can't run your business without multiple tax and, several issues. That's why people are leaving. People are leaving because they can't get jobs. Security is getting worse and worse. You have a great job. You are paid good salary. But whether you live in Abuja or in Awka in Anambra State or Kaduna in northern Nigeria, or you live in Enugu, or you live in Taraba, northeast, or you live in Kano, nobody is safe anymore. Even in Abuja recently, we had attacks coming even close to the seat of government. People are leaving because they are unsafe. Families are moving in because they are unsafe. And on the third issue that the government said they are going to leave us better economically, Nigeria is now struggling as an economy. Things are not going well. We are now begging to even pay salaries. We are begging to be able to carry out any project we see on ground. Our debt service to revenue ratio has now got to 96.3%, according to the World Bank report about 2 months ago. And for those who don't know what that means, it means that if Nigeria earns 100 naira today, we spend 96 naira or thereabout to service our debt. And we are left with 4 naira only to pay salaries, do other things that, help the economy grow, including infrastructure. So you find that we don't even have enough money to run recurrent expenditure, to run our bogus government system, where the legislature and all of those, suck up whatever we have, leaving the country high and dry and making no progress.
You've spoken about a number of issues, but then there's also the pandemic, and not forgetting the recession, which we suffered, and then there is the rising inflation and many other things, the Naira redesign as well. Perhaps in a few seconds, what economic legacy would you say the Buhari administration is leaving for the incoming one?
This government is leaving behind a legacy of careless economic management, a legacy of total incompetence, and a legacy of neglect to the common man in the street. I don't know how many more minutes I have, but economic growth has slumped from an average of 5-6% before they took over to now around 3%. Recent report says we are somewhere around 3.1%, economic growth, which is very, very bad, close to population growth. So, and every day people are sliding into extreme poverty. Unemployment has gone very, very high compared to what they met. Inflation is now double-digit, above 20%. And look at miserability of Nigerians. When you look at when you look at the Hanks in the misery index, Nigeria is now much more miserable than we were in 2015. Balance of payment. I'm looking at major economic factors just to cut it short. Balance of payment equilibrium and FX liquidity. We are at a very worst stage. This government met us having a dollar exchange for about 200 naira or 185, if I remember. Today we are talking about reality, about 740 naira to $1. That's a very bad record. And every single day, the central bank, with the authority of the federal government, keeps wasting the scarce FX that we get in the name of defending the currency. Multiple windows. And finally, if you want me to also mention, income inequality is getting worse in Nigeria. The poor are getting much, much poorer, and the rich, the politicians, are getting wealthier and wealthier by the day. And then that leads to a lot of kidnapping, a lot of crime going on in the community because people are trying to equalize the economy.
Just to quickly get this point in, much worse off today than we were several years ago. In terms of infrastructure, any credit to this government?
Yes, thumb up that at least we are seeing something on ground. Unfortunately for me, when you weigh what you're seeing on ground, of course, I commend the fact that finally, we're almost at the end of constructing the Second Niger Bridge. Finally, we have the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway almost being completed. We're still on it, though. Finally, it appears Kano to my degree Express is also getting better. I was on the road from Kano to Bauchi a few days ago. I also came from Bauchi to Abuja a few days ago. What I met on the road is a disaster. These roads need urgent attention, both in the north, in the south, in the east and west. East-west road is still a huge, uncompleted project. So much is left to be done. But some good things have been done by this administration in terms of infrastructure. But when you weigh that together with the multiplying debt portfolio, you find that so much of the money borrowed for infrastructure are being wasted, while a little is done on ground to maybe show that this debt we are taking. But maybe I can say that application of this debt value is not gotten when you compare how much we are owing to how much we've done in terms of infrastructure. Maybe we use these projects as an excuse to borrow, while we use most of the money to solve our impending, internal problems that are merely recurrent. Sorry
we want to thank you. We do want to thank you for joining us on the news at 10. Chief Executive Flame Academy and Consulting Limited, Mr. Orji Udemezue. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much. Nigeria belongs to all of us, and we all have a duty to make it well. Thank you so much.
Still ahead on the news at 10, International Monetary Fund, IMF, approves long-awaited $3 billion bailout to support Ghana's economic recovery. We have that on Business News. Do join us again.
You want to send your party money, but you don't get time for internet story. You don't need to they work out with plenty money. Careful, make you dial the number 894. Make you know they wait. 894. No need to they stand for line. 894. It is safe and secure. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894. There's a number that could change your whole world. 894. It no matter if you don't get data. 894. Just pick your phone and dial the number. 894 for me. 894 for you. 894 for Niger.
Dial star 894 hash to get started. Powered by First Bank.
The launching and presentation of two new books, State of Repair, How Muhammadu Buhari Tried to Change Nigeria for Good by Anthony Goldman, and The Legacy of Muhammadu Buhari by Senator Abu Ibrahim, is scheduled as follows. Venue, State House Conference Center, Aso Rock Villa. Date, Friday, 19th May 2023. Time 9:30 a.m. Special guest of honor, President Commander-in-Chief Muhammadu Buhari. Chairman of the occasion, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana. Expected at the event are His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President-elect, and His Excellency Senator Kashim Shettima, the Vice President-elect. Attendance will be strictly by invitation. Announcer, Ambassador Babagana Kingibe, GCON, Chairman, Organizing Committee.
Mayor.
Oh, I wish you were here.
I'm always with you.
But it's not the same without you.
MTN 5G's amazing technology will change how we experience life and the internet. Get ready to encounter the incredible. And remember, no be juju, na MTN 5G.
New So Clean concentrated detergent. 2 times the work, 2 times the speed, 2 times the strength. To win, we know what it takes. New So Clean 30% concentrated detergent. Now with 2 times the cleaning power. So Clean. For a faster, brighter, cleaner wash. With 2 times the cleaning power. So Clean, the official regional partner of Paris Saint-Germain.
You and your hair go through a lot. The heat, rain, chaos. It's a non-stop war against total breakdown. But just like you, your hair can stay strong no matter what. Mega Growth Break Free Daily Leave-In Strengthener for all hair types is infused with a unique blend of natural oils and conditioning proteins that helps protect your hair. Mega Growth Break Free, your daily defense against breakage.
Recover with Astamin, a blend of amino acids and multivitamins.
For an exclusive 3 times skin effect, try Nivea Men Deep powered by Black Carbon. For 48-hour deep moisture, a fresh skin feel, and a long-lasting masculine fragrance. Make an impact with Nivea Men Deep Impact Body Lotion. Try Nivea Men Deep Roll-On for 48-hour antibacterial sweat protection.
Well, let's now switch to our Abuja studios where Linda Kigwe has some more stories. Hi, Linda.
Hello, Millicent.
President Muhammadu Buhari has written to the House of Representatives requesting approval to borrow $800 million from the World Bank for the National Social Safety Net program, and a need to request for your consideration and approval to ensure early implementation. In the letter read by the Speaker of the House of Representatives during Wednesday's plenary session, President Buhari says the program is intended to expand coverage of shock-responsive safety net support among the poor and vulnerable Nigerians. Meanwhile, plenary was adjourned abruptly amid disagreements from lawmakers because of the ongoing induction program for members-elect. Meanwhile, the country director of the World Bank, Mr. Shubham Chaudhry, is asking state and federal governments to consider the financial implications that the continuous fuel subsidy regime could have on their revenues, as the government contemplates whether or not to remove fuel subsidy. The World Bank country director gave the warning at the third day of induction program for newly elected and re-elected governors at the banquet hall of the presidential villa in Abuja. He warned that the situation could get worse if the right decisions about fuel subsidy regime are not taken. The Federal Ministry of Aviation has been renamed the Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace of Nigeria. The Minister of Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, who made the announcement, explained that the alteration became expedient because it is on the exclusive list. He maintains that the future of aviation has experienced an advancement such that aviation and aerospace are intertwined, and so Nigeria needs to proactively set her policies to align with future occurrences. The Federal Executive Council also announced an approval for the resumption of on-street parking, and also known as Park and Pay, in the nation's capital. Our State House correspondent Gloria Umezuki reports.
Fresh from a 2-week leave, President Muhammadu Buhari returns to chair what may be his penultimate Federal Executive Council meeting. The Council deliberates over 32 memos, contrary to plans to entertain up to 60. An approval by the Council to alter the name of the Federal Ministry of Aviation is announced at a media briefing.
Federal Ministry of Aviation name has been changed because it is on exclusive list, just like Foreign Affairs Ministry is on exclusive list. There is no Foreign Affairs Ministry of Katsina. So the ministry will be called Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace, Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace of Nigeria. And it's important that we become proactive and set our policies, regulations, and rules to be in tandem with what is obviously coming.
The Council also granted approval to the concessioning of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, for 20 years, and that of the Malam Aminu Kano International Airport, Kano, for 30 years.
For the Honourable Minister of FC.
Meanwhile, the Executive Council has ratified the resumption of on-street parking in the nation's capital, which was declared illegal by the court in 2012.
For the Honourable Minister of FCT, he had 2 memos today. The first was a memo seeking Council's approval for the resumption of implementation of the management of on-street parking in the Federal Capital Territory. The FCT administration has sought amendment to its laws, and it is now empowered to run and implement on-street parking in the Federal Capital Territory.
Again, $4.7 billion for the development of Ondo Multipurpose Port, Ilaje, Snake Island in Lagos, and Boruto in Delta Port have been approved by the Federal Executive Council.
Thank you.
It is unclear if this would constitute the last Federal Executive Council before the valedictory session billed for the 24th of May, as no less than 30 memos may still require the attention of the Council. From the Presidential Villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
That's all from Abuja. Now to Anne for business news.
Well, before we go to Anne, it does appear that motorists who daily experience the tough traffic gridlock on parts of Eko Bridge may have to endure additional road blockage. Well, this development is coming on the heels of a failed and collapsed section of the Jura-Olopa Road, which has further narrowed the available alternative to the closed Eko Bridge. Already, the Federal Ministry of Works has issued a travel advisory over the failed section of the road. And Miva Open University, a subsidiary of the ULESSON Group, has been granted license by the National Universities Commission to operate as an open university in Nigeria. The license allows Miva Open University to provide full bachelor's degree programs through online distance e-learning mode, and it will commence its programs with the first cohort in September 2023. In a statement by Miva, the takeoff courses are bachelor's degrees in computer science, cybersecurity, data science, software engineering, accounting, economics, business management, and public policy and administration. According to the Senior Vice President Academics at the ULESSON Group, Mr. Ihayi Akwete, our institutions are focused on reducing the barriers to quality education by leveraging innovative and state-of-the-art technology to create and distribute educational content in the most efficient manner. Miva says it is committed to improving society through education, and the launch of the Open University is a response to millions of people in need of high-quality, accessible tertiary education. Miva is a wholly owned subsidiary of the ULESSON Group, an education technology business for primary, secondary and tertiary students. And it's now time for Anne with business news.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Millicent. Hello and welcome to Business News. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, has approved Ghana's request for a $3 billion bailout to help support the West African nation's economic recovery. But the fund's banking comes as the country clinched financial assurances just last week from a bilateral creditors group co-chaired by China and France. Ghana took economic decisions, including increasing taxes, imposing losses on domestic investors to secure the package from the IMF. The Minister of State for Finance says an initial disbursement of $600 million is expected this week, and a 3-year loan will help replenish Ghana's foreign exchange reserves, which have seen a nearly 50% drop. And back here in Nigeria, we head to the equities market. It has continued its bullish performance today as the sell pressure index also rose further by 0.31%. Larry Williams has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. And today, positive sentiment continues again in the local bourse as the All-Share Index has about 161 index points to close at 52,580 points, up 0.31%, close to the 0.36% close we had yesterday. Market cap 28.63 trillion. Let's look at the activity chart. We see it's all green, showing buy pressure from investors today. 6,666 deals. Volume, 680 millions of stocks valued at 7.89 billion there. All green, that's what we're seeing for activity chart. Let's look at the sectoral performance now. We'll see banking continuing from yesterday's over 1% close, up 0.96% today. Oil and gas, 0.49%. This one, thanks to GTCO again, adding 4% to its share price, closing at 26 naira 15 kobo. Consumer goods counter, that's boosted by Nigerian Breweries PLC. They're adding about 9% to share price, taking this counter up 1.09%. And it's a positive market breadth with 29 stocks gaining against 18 decliners. And that's why we have the bull today. All right, so it's a positive close. That's the Stock Market Report. I'm Larry Williams. It's back to you, Anne.
Let's see the closing numbers for other major markets around the world. That's Business News for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. It's back to you, Millicent.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Anne. Let's head to our London studios where Simon Pusey has more on international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy has lost his appeal against a prison sentence for corruption. However, the Paris Appeals Court ruled that he could serve his time at home wearing a tag instead of going to jail. In 2021, Sarkozy was sentenced to 3 years in prison, including 2 suspended for trying to influence a judge in a separate case. The 68-year-old was the first former president to get a custodial sentence. The United Nations is urgently seeking some $3 billion to fund humanitarian operations in Sudan. It's expecting more than 1 million people to flee the country as fighting rages between the army and rival militia forces. The UN's Humanitarian Affairs Coordinator said more than half Sudan's population of 25 million people needed aid and protection. He says it's the highest number ever seen in the country.
We aim to reach 18 million people. The funding requirements of nearly $2.6 billion is also the highest for any humanitarian appeal for Sudan. And we launched it together with the refugee response plan that my UNHCR colleague, Mr. Mazou, will speak to, because the crisis in Sudan is rapidly evolving into a regional crisis. The needs in Sudan are fundamental and widespread, as you can expect from a conflict.
A group of primary school children has suffered traumatic, life-changing injuries after a horrific bus crash in Melbourne in Australia. The bus was carrying 45 students when police say it was hit by a truck from behind and rolled on Tuesday afternoon. Some 18 children, aged 5 to 11, were rushed to hospital, many for emergency surgery. One remains in intensive care. The truck driver has been charged with dangerous driving, causing serious injury. New Zealand police have launched a homicide inquiry into a fire at an emergency housing hostel in Wellington, where at least 6 people were killed. Officials said up to 20 people are still missing, and they were treating the blaze as an act of arson. The fire had broken out at the 4-storey Loafers Lodge hostel early on Tuesday, forcing residents to the rooftop and some to jump from windows. Due to the damage, police have not yet been able to confirm the death toll. Strong winds have ripped through villages in Myanmar, where hundreds are feared dead after a powerful storm hit. The impoverished Rakhine state bore the brunt of the cyclone, during which winds of up to 210 kilometers per hour ripped roofs off homes. The United Nations official said 5.4 million people were expected to have been in the storm's path, the majority of whom were considered vulnerable. At least 8 people have died and thousands have been evacuated from their homes as devastating floods hit Italy's northern Emilia-Romagna region, with warnings that worse may be yet to come. Officials said dead bodies had been found in the towns of Forli, Cesena and Cesenatico, while 3 people there were missing. 14 rivers broke their banks in the region, forcing people in cities such as Cesena to climb onto the roof of their buildings, where firefighters rescued them with helicopters or rubber dinghies. A village in Switzerland has been entirely evacuated due to fears of a large landslide. Here, rocks falling down the mountainside towards houses in Brianz in eastern Switzerland. The Brianz population of less than 100 people had been given until Friday evening to evacuate. And a crowd adorned in white and yellow shirts have gathered at Sanam Loang grounds in Bangkok to participate in the royal ploughing ceremony, which was attended by King Maha Vajiralongkorn. Many of them farmers, the participants were quick to collect grains of rice used in the ceremony, marking the start of the rice cultivation season. Many Thais believe the collected rice is a divine gift and will be able to help bring about lush rice fields and abundant crops. During the ceremony, oxen grazed on grass and partook in liquor, serving as symbols of plentiful water sources, flourishing agriculture and a prosperous economy. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Herman. And now to sports. Tonight, Manchester City produced a flawless performance laced with outstanding quality to overpower holders Real Madrid and reach the Champions League final against Inter Milan in Istanbul. Goals from Bernardo Silva, Julian Alvarez, and of course, that own goal from Real Madrid secured the 5-1 aggregate victory for City. Brentford and England striker Ivan Toney has been banned from football for 8 months and fined £50,000 after admitting to breaches of Football Association's betting rules. Toney will not be able to play for club or country until 2024 in January. And that's it on sports. It's back to Millicent for the rest of the news at 10.
Thanks, Jeffrey. And the main news again. We told you that mild drama played out today between factions of the Labour Party who were present at the presidential election petition court. The tribunal eventually adjourned the case till May the 19th. Also today, well, we did bring you reports that the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party has resolved to review cases of anti-party activities. Well, that's news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.